Okay, so Apple cares about MacBook Pros again and the entire Mac lineup? Let's discuss. So I'm just gonna jump right into it today. Apple released a 2019 MacBook Pro update in May of 2019. Let's look back to realize how strange this is. So they actually updated the MacBook Pros just recently in like November or October with the Vega graphics update. Now this was something I was a little bit furious about because it seemed really weird to update something so quickly after it had just been released, especially from Apple, because typically from Apple we're used to like waiting, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years between updates. The iMac took 2 years. The last 2 updates took that long. There's a 2014 iMac, 2015 iMac, 2017 iMac, and 2019 iMac. The MacBook Pros, it's typically on a yearly basis. There's a 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and now there's technically 2 versions of the 2018, although that was just a new option. And then there is now the 2019 MacBook Pro with the updated i7 9750H and then the new i9 9980H, I believe, and the i9 9850H. I believe those are the 3 SKUs that they added, and they also increased the clock speeds on the 8th gen i5 MacBook Pro 13 inches, and I believe on the i7 8th gen 13 inch they increased the clock speeds on both of those. So this update for creators is relatively large if you're looking at what Apple can now provide you in terms of an 8-core processor on a MacBook Pro. Really, this is more Intel's doing than Apple, and honestly, a lot of Apple's failures in the past, you could kind of blame them on Intel. They have been really slow at releasing chips, and Apple normally needs a lot of Intel chips when they release their MacBook Pros, and they need them fast, and they need them because they have to clock them in the way that makes sense for their MacBook Pros and their Mac lineup, because a lot of MacBook Pros can't technically handle the Intel chips that are inside of them unless Apple does some trickery to make it actually work. So let's see what you get now. You get a 5 gigahertz i9 processor, and now what I don't think a lot of people seem to understand about this from the comment sections I read on some of the articles I saw, basically it's not 5 gigahertz across all 8 cores. I don't even know if the 9900K, the desktop class processor, can support that, and if it can, it produces so much heat, it's probably melting the it could probably melt down a house. That's so bad. I'm so over those bad heat jokes regarding MacBook Pros and Intel processors in general. But basically what that means is on 1 core it can hit 5 gigahertz, and then on 2 cores it could probably hit up to like 4.8, and then on 3 cores 4.7, 4.6, 4 cores, 5 cores, 6 cores, 7 cores, 8 cores. And basically what that means is that those processors can only hit those clock speeds, and they get lower and lower and lower. And there aren't a ton of programs that just use single core scores anymore, or just a single core, especially because of Ryzen and the Intel updates where they are just adding more cores. A few years ago, single core processing could help majority of people, but now that there are just more cores available, more programs are utilizing the more cores because it's more commonly available to have a bunch of cores on a CPU, more than just like 2 or 4. Now, Apple didn't update the non-touch bar versions, not really sure why, but I wanted to talk about how weird this update is. It's May of 2019, and Apple has updated the iMac, and they have updated the new MacBook Pros, and they have updated so much stuff recently. What I think is happening is that they're starting to realize that obviously people like myself aren't having an impact, but their bottom line is probably having an impact. They're probably seeing the people not code the apps for their iPhones, or not have the ability to code the apps for their iPhones, or they're sticking with older hardware and older computers that Apple has supplied and has supported for so long. But Apple's like, well, why don't they just buy the new computers? And if we gave them what they actually wanted, they would buy the new computers. So obviously the i9 processor and even the i7 processor, they're probably not going to reach the full potential that they ever would. Even if you put them in a freezer, the cooling in a MacBook Pro just can't handle it. Pretty much no laptop can handle that. That's the thickness of a MacBook, or even a little bit thicker. You're gonna need more of a gaming style laptop and not like a video editing style laptop, which I think is weird because all video editing laptops are considered like thin, light, portable, like the Razer Blade. the Dell XPS 15, the MacBook Pros, etc., etc., when in reality, the best editing laptops would be the little bit thicker ones that could actually support the processors and support the graphics cards that are inside of there. But basically what we're seeing is Apple is updating their MacBook Pros and they're updating their Macs, and they seem to actually care about their Mac lineup again. And it's such low-hanging fruit to complain about it, but it's been very apparent for a few years that Apple doesn't seem to really care about their MacBook Pros. It's not just a keyboard issue. It's not just the reliability issue. It's not just getting rid of all the ports on the side of it. It's not really all that. It's just more of a culmination of every little decision that they seem to have made in the last 7-8 years that has sort of led people astray from the MacBook Pro lineup, especially even going back older to like 2012 and 2013 when they removed all the ports the first time, when they removed the Ethernet jack, and they removed the FireWire jack, and they removed the CD drive. People have always complained about Apple and their Macs, but I think recently the complaints have been pretty well justified, because I think the 2016 through now 2019 MacBook Pros are just kind of a joke, and not in the sense that they're bad laptops. If I were to able to buy one and they were a little bit cheaper, I'm sure I would and try it out. I'm sure I would say it's really nice. I like the trackpad. The keyboard's a little bit to be desired, but all in all, it's very thin, light, portable, and powerful, and I really enjoy it. But I think that a lot of people are starting to see that Apple sacrifices so much in terms of performance on their MacBook Pros that you just don't get the full performance of their laptops, or what you're actually paying for. So you could be paying for the top of the line everything, but the body of the computer doesn't support that. So it's cool to see Apple actually update these new MacBook Pros to the 2019 MacBook Pros with 9th gen Intel chips. I mean, there aren't any benchmarks on Geekbench hardly at all for any of these new CPUs, and Apple is already releasing them. This is amazing considering the fact that it took Apple almost a full year to a year and a half to update a lot of their other computers. When the 8th gen chips were available forever for the MacBook Pros, it took them all the way up until June. Now the 9th gen chips haven't been really available for that long, and they're already in MacBook Pros. So it's really cool to see either Intel or Apple, one of the two, working together and becoming not the old Apple, because that's so obnoxious to say, but really the Apple that we've sort of come accustomed to seeing, where they had a lot of the new cutting edge technology, cutting edge processors, cutting edge graphics cards, cutting edge design, and cutting edge knives. So really, it's cool to see. I'm pretty excited about these. Obviously, I won't buy one, but if one comes up cheap, maybe I'll see if I can afford one with all that crispy AdSense money that I've made. But that's pretty much it. I mean, it's crazy to think that Apple's already updated their MacBook Pros this year, especially considering the fact that Intel just released these chips not that long ago, and they're probably just being made available to these OEMs like MSI, Gigabyte, Razer, Apple, etc. It's really cool to see. I'm really happy about it, because I wouldn't have been surprised if Apple waited until like October or November to update these with the new Navi chips when they eventually come out, and moving everything to 7 nanometer. But honestly, if you're looking to buy one of these, I wouldn't buy any of them. I would wait until they release the new MacBook Pros with the Navi graphics built on 7 nanometer, because there are a lot of tests done and a lot of results showing that the 7 nanometer Vega graphics inside of the highest spec, the Vega 16, the Vega 20, they actually score better on every test, even CPU tests, because the Vega graphics are built on 7 nanometer. They're much more efficient. They give off a lot less heat. So that means a lot more of the cooling can go down to the CPU instead of spread across the CPU and the GPU. So if you were to buy one MacBook Pro this year, what I would buy is the 2018 MacBook Pro with the i7, and then add the Vega 16 or Vega 20 graphics if you want to know what I would purchase. Although I would never ever buy a laptop new, but that's just me and I digress. Alright, thank you guys for watching the video. I'm Scott with Techno Eclipse. Sorry the audio probably sounds a little bit echoey. I wanted to get this video out fast because I was so shocked that they actually did this today. Alright, thanks for watching. Peace out.